Hi, hello, welcome to LearnStroke IAS classes by Arjun. You're listening to the daily Hindu news analysis for current affairs news leads with Arjun R Shankar. Today the date is 27th December 2022, and let's see and please don't forget to check out our editorial summaries where you can read the editorials, so please do check out that. And moving on to the first important news leads of the day is Create in India says task force on gaming, animation and VFX, GS paper 2, government campaigns, etc. Because a campaign called Create in India campaign with exclusive focus on the AVGC. So what do you mean by AVGC? It is animation. You can see that a Create in India campaign with exclusive focus on what? It's actually AVGC is you can see it's a platform for animation, visual effects, gaming and comics is planned to attract foreign direct investments, co-production, treaties, innovation, collaborations, etc. So this is actually and to also to leverage the national education policy to create creative thinking at the school level. So this is the platform for AVGC, which is animation, visual effects, and gaming and comics. So these are among the recommendation in the report of a task force on AVGC promotion submitted to the union government. So this AVGC is a very important concept in the creative thinking level, and it is said that the Ministry of Education is also planning to revise the NCRT to create books focusing on subjects relating to AVGC. So you need new education policy, new even NCRT should have contents on visual effects, gaming, comics, etc. And even UGC recognized curriculum for undergraduate and postgraduate has also been suggested to have on AVGC. So a lot of countries have signed MOU between India and other AVGC markets like US, Japan, South Korea, Germany for providing internships to Indian AVGC professionals. So you need to have animation, visual effects, gaming, and comics as something that is a committee, a campaign that has been created in India. So Create in India, so AVGC, know about this concept. Moving on to the important news is President of India inaugurates Prasad project to create a slew of facilities at Sri Shailam. So you need to know what do you mean by Prasad. And the President Draupadi Murmu has inaugurated the Prasad project at the Tourism Facilitation Center in the pilgrim town of Sri Shailam in Andhra Pradesh. So as a part of this, the hill town is going to get a lot of pilgrimage complexes, amenity center, etc. So this brings us, what do you mean by Prasad, which is pilgrimage rejuvenation and spiritual heritage augmentation drive. That is what is called as Prasad. It's a pilgrimage rejuvenation and spiritual heritage augmentation drive, which is called as Prasad. So the Prasad was actually launched under the Ministry of Tourism, the government of India, and it launched in 2014-15. And you can see that the name of the scheme was changed to National uh, Mission on Pilgrimage Rejuvenation and Spiritual Heritage Augmentation Drive in 2017. So the name change was happening in that phase, and the Prasad scheme was launched by the Ministry of Tourism to integrate development of pilgrimage destination in a prioritized, planned, sustainable manner. That means you need to create more pilgrimage center or destination. So the focus of the previously launched Prasad was on the development and beautification of the pilgrimage destination, but the Ministry of Urban Scheme Hriday, there is another thing called the Ministry of Housing and Urban Scheme called Hriday. Hriday was discontinued and Prasad scheme was renamed the Prasad to encompass the development of heritage destinations. So the urban scheme Hriday was discontinued and Prasad now is a complete development of heritage destination. So know about this GS paper 2 welfare. Next is life in fear attacks of a tribal Christian in Bastar. So this is again important article in the sense you need to know that a lot of news is actually because everybody now is talking about religious conversions. So the affected families in Bastar. So you know that the Bastar is actually uh, in the Chhattisgarh region, and it's very popular for the Naxal attacks. And the affected families allege that the attacks on Christians were coordinated and the handwork of fellow tribal villages. So a lot of tribal Christians are being attacked. They describe it as the latest chapter in the rise in violence over alleged religious conversions. because this is something that has been in news, and even the tribal Christians of Chhattisgarh region are suffering because they say that it is actually a backlash, as the majority of the people are talking about the forceful religious conversions. So know about this, GS paper 1 society. And next is expedite classification of nomadic tribes in quota list, panel 10's center. So GS paper 2 welfare, you need to know what do you mean by seed. The article talks about seed, scheme for economic empowerment of denotified. You can see that the what is DNT and seed. So you can see that the majority of the denotified nomadic, semi-nomadic tribes, the denotified semi-nomadic tribes. So the parliamentary panel has asked the union government over the very slow process. It's a very slow process to categorize over 260 denotified nomadic, semi-nomadic tribes under the SC, ST, and OBC. So this is actually regarding the quota list, and that what is seed actually. And you can see the scheme for economic, the seed a scheme for economic empowerment of denotified nomadic, semi-nomadic communities was launched in February 2022 by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. The main aim is to provide free competitive exam coaching to these students, to provide health insurance to families, uplift clusters of this community through livelihood initiatives, provide financial assistance for housing. So these are some of the important, and development of welfare boards. More number of welfare boards need to be created for the denotified nomadic and semi-nomadic communities. So seed is basically economic empowerment of DNTs. And you should know that more than 10 crores Indians from over 1,400 communities are either denotified, nomadic, or semi-nomadic. More than 10 crore Indians over 1,400 communities are either denotified, nomadic, or semi-nomadic. So know about the seed, why seed is important. And moving on, next is a call regarding Zelensky speaks to Modi about G20. Because Prime Minister spoke to Ukrainian President Zelensky to discuss India's ongoing G20 presidency. And the Ukrainian president has sought support for his 10-point peace plan. This is very important because Russia is very much connected with India, and India is actually a big time supporter of Russia and is getting and importing a large number of oil at this point of time. So India is trying to balance the act, and by talking to Ukraine and extending its support through diplomacy. And you should know what are the 10 steps to peace is actually a program by, it's actually a vision by the Zelensky. And it is a plan he discussed at the G20 summit in Bali. He listed 10 steps for peace. And you can see that the ensuring radiation and nuclear safety, food security, energy security, release of all prisoners and deported persons, implementation of UN Charter, restoration of Ukraine's territorial integrity and the world order, withdrawal of Russian troops and cessation of hostilities, restoration of justice, countering, you can see ecocide, the economic suppression, preventing escalation, and finally confirmation of the end of the war. So 10 steps of Zelensky, the 10-point peace plan was discussed in this article. So have an idea about what is the 10-point peace plan of Zelensky. GS paper 2, international relations. Next is NCPCR warns NGOs over depiction of vulnerable children for fundraising. This is something that we have all seen in newspapers. We often get leaflets, pamphlets, etc. Because we should know what is the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. Because the NCPCR, you can see that majority of the fundraising activities concerned regarding the children comes up with posters, pamphlets, where you can see that a sick baby is being showed, or is lying on a hospital bed. You show people with malnutrition photos and ask for funding, because more you can see that the babies are videographed as helpless and needy child, and camera zooming into close up, as showing the complete negative aspects of celebrating the exploitation. On December 2, the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights wrote to the NGOs across the country on the practice of raising fund, domestic as well as international, for through NGOs through advertisement, while showing vulnerable minor children in a very deplorable condition. This is not acceptable. So do not depict vulnerable children, and stop using fundraising activities with the faces of malnutrition. Said this is a good thing. So know about what you mean by National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, NCPCR, GS paper 2, schemes, welfare, etc. Center mandates universal digital capturing of Nariga attendance. GS paper 2's government scheme, welfare. So this brings us another important, I'll give you a important concept of what is NMMS? What is National Mobile Monitoring System, or NMMS? Because it has been discussed in the news that digital capture of the attendance of workers employed under the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme has been made universal by the center from January 1. Because previously you used to capture the attendance through the normal mustering system, and from now onwards we really expect that things has to be changed, and you need to have a uh, the national mobile monitoring system as a part of this. So what is this? The NMMS is actually a pilot project to capture attendance via mobile application. And what happens is from May 16, 2022, the capturing of attendance via app was made compulsory for all work sites with 20 or more workers. This required uploading 2 times stamped and geotagged photographs of the worker. So that is something very important. You can see that the biggest problem is 2 times stamped photos. Often the workers may finish their work, and what happens is when they come for the work and when they leave the work, they you need to have a 2 times stamped and geotagged photographs of the worker. So there are a lot of people who are saying that widespread complaints are actually coming over the lack of technical support, the necessity to have a smartphone, having strong internet connection, because it's a good thing that you need to track and track the working of the Nariga. And as people say, whenever there is a technological advancement coming in, people say that you have a great thing. And I'll give you a mains question at here. Mains question here is: technology based solutions can make the Nariga more efficient and productive. Critically analyze the statement. So the technology based solutions can make the Nariga more efficient and productive. Critically analyze. So you say that normally when say the technology comes, people say that it's very easy. There will be more transparency. And the ministry has ordered that digital capturing attendance is now mandatory for all work sites, regardless of number of workers, whether you have 20 people or not. If you have the Nariga, if you're implementing the Nariga scheme, the digital attendance is very, very important. And the digital attendance has replaced the paper rolls and was paper muster rolls. And the biggest problem that the people say they face is the times 2 time photograph. So workers may finish their work, but they are forced to return to the work site for the second photograph. So know how technology based system is changing the dimension of Nariga. Next is 48 killed as massive winter storms wallops much of US, and even in Japan a lot of people are killed. So this brings us an important question regarding what is bomb cyclone. Because death toll of pre-Christmas blizzard has paralyzed the Buffalo area and much of the New York area, and has killed more than 48 people. The massive storm is called as the Elliot. The massive storm is called as the Elliot, is to claim more lives. And you need to know what you mean by a bomb cyclone. You need to know that the air flows from high pressure to low, creating winds. So what defines a bomb cyclone is how rapidly the pressure drops in the low pressure mass by at least 24 millibars in 24 hours. So bomb cyclone is all about how the pressure is dropping. The quickly increasing the quickly increases the pressure difference or gradient between the two air masses, making the wind stronger. This process of rapid intensification is called the bombogenesis. So air flows from high pressure to low, creating winds, and the bomb cyclone is all about how rapidly the pressure is dropping. So the quickly increasing pressure difference and gradient in between the two air masses, the winds are getting more stronger. The process of rapid intensification creates what is called as the bombogenesis. So no, it is all about bomb cyclone is all about dropping the pressure drops, and know what you mean by the bomb cyclone happening in US. And the next important regarding GS paper 3 economy is unfunded pension scheme is a tax on future generations, says because recently everybody is talking about the new pension system and the old pension system, and famous economists are concerned about the new pension system, sorry, the old pension system, which is actually based on the last drawn salary. So the famous the advice economic advisory council of the prime minister member Sanjeev Sanyal says, in the new pension system the employee also contributes to the pension and the government also contributes. So in the old pension system, majority of the Indian states are going to implement the old pension system. That will create a big time burden on the finances of the state governments. So the government needs to find new amount of money to give the old pension system where there is no contribution from the employee or the persons. So taking into consideration the macroeconomic instability that is going to happen in 2023 and the growth rate of India, in the long term, if you go with old pension scheme, that can be a big problem on the future generation. Especially government will have to fund more activities. So do you agree with this? Do you agree with the NPS or the OPS? What is your suggestion? Do tell about the suggestion. So that is the most important news leads of the day. Subscribe to the channel LearnStroke IAS classes by Arjun and keep listening to the news leads.